Hey guys, it's Matt. I want to talk about this phrase, which I believe is one of these phrases that has been basically artificially carried through time. We have met the enemy, and he is us. There's a few different interpretations of this, or it comes off different with different people. I think this is a row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. I think this has been artificially carried through time to a degree. I know, and imagine what someone would think stumbling upon this video. Give me a moment. Okay, hear me out before you label me. If a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody there to observe it, no real consciousness, does it make a sound, things like that. It's things that could never have carried through from when they say they were created, or the origin of the phrase or the idea. I'm going to relate this to the movie Revolver, and I'm not going to get too much into Revolver because I've really only seen it once. The first time I saw it months ago, I just fell asleep. I was so tired. I didn't really... the first time I paid attention to it, so basically it was the first time I watched it, was last night. It's very deep, very interesting, and I will do a full one on Revolver. I mean, you want to talk about major truth drops, it's there. I'll talk about Revolver. I'm going to talk about this. Give me a minute, and I'm going to relate that to the two Golems. You know, Gollum talking to himself, the two Yuuts. Yep, it's all tied together. So let's start with the absolute basics. There's no way most people will know this phrase. You know, you ask, maybe the young people in their 20s won't ask anybody 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, like, oh yeah, you know, I remember it as I have met the enemy and he is me, or everybody's heard it. It's been carried. But if you do the research on this, there's no way it would have carried through time. All right. What you have is a battle on Lake Erie during the War of 1812. Master Commandant. We had that in the United States? I thought that was just clink in Stalag 17. Yes, sir. Over you, Commandant. Schultz. Master Commandant Oliver Perry wrote Major General William Henry Harrison. This is just ridiculous. There's no way this would have been carried through. We have met the enemy and they are ours. Okay, the U.S. Navy fighting the British Navy on Lake Erie. So, making a statement, I guess, that he's fighting like his own people because they're from British heritage. I don't even know what it means. It doesn't matter what it means in that context. It's only the context or why the reality carries it through time, how they want you to interpret it, and that's what we'll get into. So he wrote Major General Henry Harrison, and this was so profound that it was carried through time. You see, it would have gone in the trash. It would have gone in the trash. It wouldn't become world famous. You see how artificial this stuff is that's carried through time? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. First time anybody came up with that song, somebody who said, oh, it's good for the kids tonight, but after tonight, it sucks. Nobody would have carried it through time. So this is how we're getting help in this reality. It goes back to the theme of we're getting help from basically the reality itself. And these minions, these a-holes represented by, let's just pick one. How many are there, right? A Hillary. They're playing their role. Every day that goes by, I think they know less and less about what the overall master game plan is here. Just absolute minion jerks that they don't have the knowledge that we think they do. They in their little area they do, but I don't think they do. I really don't. So here's the thing. Okay, so he writes the note to the general, and it's so profound. The general must have said, "Oh my God, I'm going to keep this forever. Let's frame it in argon glass." Come on. It must have been somewhat famous around people that were born in the 20s and 30s and just, old lore. But then this is how it's pushed through time. We have met the enemy and he is us. There's a Pogo comic strip. Okay, I don't think this comic strip exists. I don't know if I can even keep it on the Pogo strip if I get blocked. I just watched people doing movie reviews. They're showing 30 minutes of the movie, but I'm not even going to keep it on the full cartoon, and they'll block me. That's how bad it is here. But Pogo, I guess, like Calvin and Hobbes or something of its day. So using an Earth Day theme or a theme on pollution, they carried that slogan from the Battle of Lake Erie through time. We have met the enemy and he is us. Go look, because we pollute the earth. Okay, fine. There's nothing wrong with that statement. That's a good statement. I'm glad Pogo put this out. But then see what this acts to do is it's a catalyst to carry that slogan then through time. And this was apparently, I mean, you can research this in a lot of different areas, and it all goes back to this Pogo comic strip as the missing link, the Lucy found bones, the missing link between the original quote on the Battle of Erie or whatever and what we know of this quote today. The wormhole or what carried it through time or was the springboard was this Pogo comic strip. Again, if anybody's saying, well, how could a Pogo comic strip, was it that famous? How could that get this phrase where it's known by 90% of the people today over age 35? I agree. See, that's how it's artificially carried through into our culture. Okay, but what's it really saying? It has nothing to do, if it is something artificially carried forth, it has nothing to do with, we're fighting our brothers, the British. I mean, give me a break. It has to do with the two U's. This movie is about, this movie, Revolver, Jason Statham or whatever his name is about basically two parts of you. There's ego, the part that gets you in a lot of trouble. That's what this movie's about. And the other parts, or the real part of you, the part that gets covered up by this world, gets hidden. And this relates to, there's other tabs I should have opened, but to me, I mean, I won't go there yet because this is absolutely nuts. I mean, most people that have been looking at reality like we have will probably shake their head and like, yeah, that's what it is. But I'm not going to go there just yet because that would seem nuts to a lot of people. But this movie is really deep, and I'm not going to get too much into this movie, but it's about basically like almost like a Wetiko theme. There's this theme that's been coming up, or what's come up a long time about there's just two beings inside you. Wetiko, which is, I think, Native American heritage. Like there's a shadow self, a dark self. I guess I'm no expert on Castanea, but it might relate to the mind virus, or Castanea said, said that the invader, whatever the invader is, has given you their mind, and this would be represented in Revolver as the ego. I need to watch this again and really break it down, guys. But if you watch this, don't even think of the characters as real characters, like Outcast and whatever, the guy from The Godfather or The Sopranos. To me, they're almost probably representations of his own mind, or the id, ego, superego type of thing, not even real people. And at the end, Ray Liotta? He represents basically overcoming an idea. It's not like you really shouldn't even think of Ray Liotta as a real person, but I'll get into that in this sort of movie review later when I watch it again. It's good. It's very deep. Even things like one guy, he meets these two guys in prison. They're like experts at this and that. I won't get into it too much if you want to see it. One guy is a con man, and one guy is a chess player. And a brilliant comment in a review of the movie. Usually I'll look at movie reviewers to see how deep they can get. Usually, they usually don't go very far. It sounds arrogant of me or of us, but they're analyzing, like they would analyze The Matrix at the first level. A lot of these movie reviews, they're like, oh, the Oracle was just trying to help humanity. They just don't see and relate it to the real reality. You need to see the things we see to get these movie reviews right at the deepest levels. I'm sorry if that sounds arrogant, and I'm saying you and me would be kind of arrogant to these movie reviewers that see it more on the first level or the popcorn cruncher level. So I'll usually look, and I only looked at one so far on Revolver, and I looked at a few before Soul to see how deep, Disney's or Pixar's Soul, to see how deep they're getting. And one comment was brilliant. I would have never caught it. Never caught it. Well, maybe if I analyzed the movie for hours and hours like I planned to do, but right now it went right by me. Someone wrote, well, one guy he learned from in prison was a chess player. One guy was a con man. Chess player, conscious. This whole movie's about ego. It was brilliant. I mean, I've never seen even the reviewers say that. It was just in a comment I found. So then you get into, okay, let's get into this. You get into a lot of themes in movies where you have, if you remember from the Lord of the Rings, let me just describe what's going on here for those that don't remember. Is there anybody that hasn't seen it? But these movies aren't for everybody. They're it's like Harry Potter light. It's not quite as good as Harry Potter, but they're entertaining. You have Gollum. Gollum here, for those that don't remember, was once a real boy. Was once Pinocchio. Was once a real hobbit. Just looked like Frodo and all the rest of them. But he found the precious. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. Here you go.
Oh, my precious.
Not great. He finds the precious, which represents the love of this world, the love of materialism, everything associated with the praises this world will throw at you. And it's of course that's what it's just such an easy thing to relate to. But I wonder how many people even see that. I mean, to you and I, it's so simple to see that. But how many reviewers of The Lord of the Rings even see that as that figment of that or representation of that? Anyway, so it degrades him into a creature. It's an obvious statement as to what the covets of this world degrade a human being down into. But then, the alter ego comes out. This one says, you don't have any friends. Nobody likes you. And then the good one, or the one that's supposed to be more true, is like, I'm not listening to you. You're a liar and a thief. No, it argues with itself. It argues with its mind virus. It argues with its Wetiko or shadow self, and this relates to a lot of email conversations I've had recently. Well, not a lot, but there's been it hasn't. If one person will know the emails that I'm talking about, but there's actually been one or two other people in email have actually alluded to this as well. Sometimes these themes all come up at once, like the 100 Monkeys thing. But he talks about how, or is reminding me how the brain is completely two different segments. And how is that even possible from, nobody listening to this is going to believe in Darwin's evolution and that nonsense. But how is that even possible from an evolutionary type perspective? Why would the brain, at least the frontal lobes, be completely separated, just one bridge across the corpus callosum? That doesn't make any sense. It would have redundancy. It would have a lot of ways to talk to each other. And this person's basically saying, well, this proves you've been engineered, dude. You're the avatar or the body that your soul is in has been engineered. And I don't get into that too much. The old created by the Anunnaki thing, or created by the Archons to mine their gold and all that. I don't get into that stuff. I don't think we're here right now. We have to do for ourselves. Take care of yourself. We got to take care of what we need. There's things we can do here, and the reality is giving us the tools to do it. It doesn't matter where we came from 1,000 years ago, or if the reality is only 200 years old, or it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So that's why I don't really care about that one way or another. But it's an interesting point. He says, look at the frontal brain, the back brain, the more primitive brain. It is more one. The brain stem, but the frontal brain, two separate. It does seem completely unnatural. Why would it separate itself? And I think the people that study that would say, yeah, it could be related right to this. The two U's, mind virus, two separate, something inside you that needs to be overcome, which really comes out in the movie Revolver. And here we go. Now let's go into the land of absolute insanity, where I'll say what John McEnroe really means by you cannot be serious, and people that have studied reality like you will shake your head like, yeah, that's probably what it is. Good call, Matt. And somebody stumbling upon the video would be like, are you out of your goddamn mind? I mean, they would think we're nuts, but who cares what they think, right? Go, Lego my ego. I pulled this one out. This one hit me about 3 years ago, and I've talked about it a few times, but if you're new to the channel, Lego my ego. And somebody going, wait a second, Matt, are you telling me Are you telling me, boy, that you think that Kellogg's this theme Lego My Ego, which was run on 150 ads over a 15-year period, was a big thing from 1980 to 1995? You telling me there's an underlying message, let go of my ego or something? Are you out of your goddamn mind, boy? I'm saying I wouldn't place all my chips on this number if it was a roulette wheel, but there's something here. You can smell it, can't you? You can feel it. Let your inner knowing talk to you about it, not your frontal lobes that says, this guy, boy's crazy. Let go, Lego. It's Leggo. My ego. Well, Lego, let go, remove a G, ego. It could be. That's how this reality generally works. Okay. And then this relates to an even crazier one. Let's do this one. Let's just do it on the fly. See if the computer will be fast enough to load the new page before next Tuesday. My cousin Vinny, 2 Yuuts. Now, I've floated this one before as, it's funny, but wait a second. Wait. Lego My Ego was one thing. Are you saying to me that this scene in My Cousin Vinny, well, might as well, let's remember the scene. And it relates to the 2 U's. I'll finish my thought. That there's 2 U's inside of you. Are you kidding me? Maybe. So what did he say? So let me get this straight, sir. You saw the two Yuuts go into the sack of suds. See, Mr. Gambini, what did you say, boy? The 2 Yuuts went into this. No, that word was. What did you, Mr. Gambini? What did you? What is he? Did you just say a Yuut? Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. The 2 youths went into the sack of suds. Mr. Gambini, that is a loosen. Sorry. The 2 Yuuts. The 2 U's. Look, I under this one is a bigger stretch even than Lego My Ego. I'm aware of that. I haven't lost my faculties yet studying dark reality 7 days a week. I wouldn't put all my chips on this number if it was a roulette wheel. We're just starting to notice that reality isn't very real, and this is generally how it likes to do business. We're seeing this all over the place now. This relates to Vanessa VA's songs, and here comes a Jason Mraz song, and you can, a lot of the songs don't hit you. It's not, see, each type of media, it's not meant to affect everybody the same. That's why there's so many different ways the message comes in. Some, like she can do 2 or 3 songs. I'm like, nah, I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. Oh, the Jason Mraz song, You and I Both. Oh yeah, that's a conversation back and forth between you and your higher self. I felt it immediately. So you're not going to see. It's like the Mandela effect. Dan over at Scarab Performance can be like, oh, this is definitely a Mandela effect. I trust he's right about that for him. But I said, to me, it's not at all. So that was never in my reality. That's how it works. There's no right or wrong in these things. Well, I mean, even you can actually say no right or wrong because, somebody say, well, the writer, producer, and director actually embedded a message. Let's just say I'm right about. No, they wouldn't even be aware of it. That's how it works. They wouldn't. The songwriter, the things that Vanessa VA talks about, the writer wouldn't, in most cases, wouldn't even be aware of it. Kubrick for 2001, at certain levels they are aware of it, but the point is a lot of it just flows out through reality itself. I mean, or are you saying that the person that put the marketing campaign together was actually out to send a message to let go of your ego? No, of course not. It would somehow, the reality itself would see to it that this was the greatest idea a marketing manager ever had, and they decided to run with it, and the message would come out, and they don't even, and the message, there's nobody would even be aware of the message. It would hit your parts of you, subconscious, unconscious brain you're not even aware of. That's how it works too. But I could be wrong about this one, of course. So back to Revolver. Let's remember why we were here. Met the enemy, and he is us. Okay. there's just, again, it's so ridiculously funny. A letter from Commandant Klink to General whoever, and he saved it, and it would never have gone anywhere. They didn't have the media there, the internet. It wouldn't have gone, even if they had the internet after the Battle of 1812 or the War of 1812. It wouldn't have gone anywhere. We said, why is this going viral? This sucks. Okay, it's interesting. We've met the enemy, and it's only profound if you see it and apply it to deep levels of understanding about your own self, about your own parts of you or ego that wants to attach and make contract with this world, that wants to seek the praises of the society. See, back then he's just saying, oh, we're battling the British. Nobody saw it in that profound way. So there's no chance it would have gone anywhere. Therefore, it has to be carried through time artificially, just like row, row, row your boat. And how that works, nobody knows. Is there a minion that works for the Library of Congress that reports into Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State that says, we have to carry these themes to help the Muggles out. We have to carry these themes through time. What should we do about this one, Secretary Clinton? No, it just doesn't. There's no normal mechanism anybody could understand as to how this works. That's what makes this place so supernatural. See it as supernatural. See it as changing and flexible to become more flexible. Everybody's trying to see it as everything's real and pick up a brick and drop it on your foot and everything's real. And that's why when we examine these cathedrals and all this impossible architecture, it should be examined with the mind of an LSD trip versus how they get this up here with a pulley and a rope. That's assigning too much real to this place. We know that by now. So, Pogo carried forth. Come on, we need to find more of these things, and there's probably thousands, if you look hard enough, of things carried through history artificially. And my first one, and the most obvious one, was if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound if there's nobody watching? Or even back then, they didn't even say if there's no consciousness watching. They just said if nobody's there. It was all dumbed down. And again, I like to go through how that would play out at the bar. Someone would be like, "What? How many pints have you had, Tom? Putting that shit out if a tree falls in the..." Listen to what Tom just said. Get him over here. He just said if a tree... He just asked the three of us down the end of the bar, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around, does it make a sound? Well, of course it would make a sound, you moron. Cut this guy off. Cut Tom off, Jerry. You do on the fly, you associate Tom and Jerry. I'm sorry. It's the best I could do. Anyway, so then you get into this, and we need to start talking about, guys, well, we did already start talking about a little bit. How does this truth get into this media, movies, which we're kind of going there now? It can flow through even without the director, producer, or writer even being aware of it, in my opinion. And I think Vanessa would agree with that. But we need to start talking before we start analyzing 100 more movies or levels of media that present a deep message. We need to kind of talk about in another video, why are we so sure that a real truth message is being delivered? And the quick answer to that, and we'll talk about that in depth at another time, but the quick answer to that is, one, you can feel it. The different parts, the term gut feeling exists for a reason. There are parts of you that can make much greater, better decisions than the head and the mind. That's why gut feeling exists. I mean, that's carried through time. You can feel it in parts of you more aligned with truth than just your head figuring it out. Your head would say, "Oh, there can't possibly be some metaphysical message carried through a movie." The head would. That's the answer the head would come up with. Big head's as dumb as little head. But we can feel it. But there's also, we've also found it in. See, the evidence has sought to, I guess, provide. I can't really. I'm a little bit of mind jumbled at this point. There's so much evidence at this point that we say years ago we weren't really sure. Then we were a little bit more sure. Then we were a little bit more sure. We've seen this, I guess, so many times that it's now become overwhelming. That I guess the best way to say it is, if I line up the top 200 truth drops, 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 200 truth real high-level truth drops in movies and music and media, like look deep within yourself, Clarice. If I line them up, somebody would just have to say, all of that's a coincidence. It's just a coincidence that this part of the movie seems to represent a real important truth to humanity. See, we have so many examples now, it can't possibly be a coincidence. But we started looking at truth in movies initially, way back when, just because we sensed it. We knew, we had a knowing that it was a different type of knowing than what the mind would come up with. And, again, well, we'll talk about some of these things some other time. But, at this point, I'm getting a little jumbled, so I better wrap it up. Thanks, guys. I will watch Revolver again and do the full breakdown. It's definitely worth watching. Again, if you this character here, oh, what a coincidence. The right eye dark on Ray Liotta here. Anybody surprised? Me neither. It's just this endless symbolism. And don't see Ray Liotta. Try to, when you watch it, don't see him as real. See it as a representation of something in Jason Statham's mind, or Jason Statham's solipsism. He's the only one, say, that's real, say, in this reality. Apply solipsism. Outcast, or half outcast. I like this guy. He's a cool guy, but this guy, this guy from The Sopranos, just a figment of some kind. See it that way, and see if it makes more sense. When he's in prison, don't see it. He's really in prison. It's a representation of some kind. He was serving time. Was he? Or what is that really saying? That's the way to watch this movie. Thanks, guys.